am John, aka the Silver Vox, and this planet is my home. I seek to speak the truth of what's happening here in National City, but I need help. Is that a bird? Or a plane? No, it's a butterfly.
I am Justina, aka the Green Butterfly, your eye in the sky, here to bring hope with the help of Silvervox and our friends at the DEO to defend against those who would cause us harm. Don't forget K-Vox, bringing us the canine perspective on all things Kryptonian.
Seeking to continue the legacy started by the Scarlet Cougar and Miss Ice, our mission is to bring out the best of our Supergirl television journey. Along with our amazing listeners and feedbackers, we will succeed. We are made of steel. That is right. Welcome back to Made of Steel, a podcast dedicated to the once aired Supergirl television series on the CW. Welcome, everybody, all ye citizens of National City. We hope you are doing well. We are here to capture our audience's feedback on the two-part finale, or two last episodes, if you will, that aired last week. And we are excited about all of the stuff that's coming our way in this podcast. I am John, aka the Silver Vox. She's Georgia, aka K-Vox. And as always, right here with us is the ever lovely Green Butterfly.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Television shows come and go, but Super Friends are forever, and we get to spend the whole night with you guys. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. It's how I describe the show in our official blurb on them. We've had our shot, you and me, Green Butterfly. Now it's time to turn it over to the experts.
Definitely experts. They remember all the great details.
No doubt. All right, let's get things kicked off. We are in episode 160 of Made of Steel. We're a part of the Golden Spiral Media Podcast Network. You can find us at goldenspiralmedia.com or search out the show's popular Facebook group at facebook.com/group/Made of Steel, MAID. And you can follow the show on Twitter at SupergirlGSM. All right, we are diving straight in, but we're going back in time, all the way back to episode 158 of Made of Steel. Back to season 6, episode 18, Truth or Consequences. We want to get this thought in from Ken in Chicago, who followed up a couple days after the finale. He wrote this. First, John, like many viewers, we were baffled, stunned, horrified that after months of separation, the Danvers sisters finally have a heart-to-heart chat that many consider the heart of the show, and it devolves into a fight? Also, why is Alex blowing up on Kara's suggestion? For the drama? Of course. But I also think the writing was going for something a bit more layered, more nuanced. Rewatch the argument, John. I think Alex's reaction, while on the surface, it's fury over Kara's parental suggestions. But deeper, I think it's Alex reacting to it as a personal attack. Alex seems to be reacting as if Kara is saying Alex should have hidden her orientation to spare other kids and other people. That's what Alex means when she says she knew what it meant to grow up feeling, quote-unquote, other. Don't feel bad for not seizing on the intensity of the feeling. Kara didn't even notice and kept pouring fuel on the fire by continuing to suggest Esme suppress her powers, which Alex was reading as young Alex should have repressed her orientation until she blew up at Kara. Second, Justina. Sorry you aren't feeling well. As much as you have been a shining star of optimism and hope on the podcast, if you aren't feeling up to the episode, I think the listeners would understand if you sat one out, or while at least you're recovering. Your health is more important than a podcast. Like Karen's health when she had to bow out of episodes and even had to step down from the podcast, while we all miss her, we value her health even more so. Speaking of value, I think all of the GSM podcasts you've hosted or commented on or have valued, not just your optimism, but well-reasoned hope, being both the deets and receipts as to why you were helpful. Yet that's not your only value as podcaster or person, so I wanted to stress that I didn't want you to feel like you always have to be upbeat. If an episode's got you down, then that's okay too. I don't want you to feel like if we in the audience didn't end an episode of a podcast feeling optimistic, that it was all my fault. It's okay if an episode or two has gotten you down. We'd understand. That's part of why we're here, to celebrate the good moments of the show and to commiserate and support each other during the less so good moments. Thank you, Ken. I wanted to read that personally. We're going to have a lot of comments about the podcast kind of wrapping up and that kind of a thing. The good news is, just to make an announcement right off the gate, we're not going anywhere yet. So this is not the end of Made of Steel here tonight. Yes, this is going to be hopefully wrapping things up on our finale episodes, but this podcast is going to continue. At first thing, we're going to cover the Flash 5-part Armageddon event, which has already begun a couple nights ago as we're recording. Part 1 has already aired, and we've got 4 more parts to go. We're going to come back once it's all finished, and we're going to talk about the Armageddon event as a whole, especially as it has to do with Alex, right? Because she is a part of the event. We want our characters to continue. We want their stories to continue. So we want to cover that as much as we can. So we're going to do that as a full event. So if you have feedback on that, we certainly want you to be a part of that. So that'll be some point towards the end of December, maybe even early January. Green Butterfly and I will have to decide what's the best date for our calendar, given the end of the year and the holiday craziness that's around most households, including ours. But we'll get that information to you when we're going to do that. But not only that, we're going to come back to Supergirl. And we're going to do a full-on series review. Now, I don't mean episode by episode, but I mean, let's just take a moment, being able to breathe, walk away, step away, come back, reflect on what we've gotten out of the show as a whole, and let's talk about it. So let's talk about season 6 and how it relates to the rest of the series. Let's talk about the series from seasons 1 through 6. What were the best things? What were the worst things? What were the things that you will never be able to walk away from because they impacted you that much? So we've got that episode coming. You all may drive this thing to say, you know what, we want to keep the train going on the review of past episodes that we were doing during the hiatus. You guys may say, that's a great plan. Let's continue doing that. You guys may decide you want some other things out of Made of Steel, which Green Butterfly and I will take to the table and see if that's something that we want to take on. All I'm trying to say, and all I'm trying to say on behalf of me and Justina, is that we are far from over, guys. So let's not be putting this thing to bed as we're recording this tonight.
Definitely. I have a lot of ideas and fun, and I'm not willing to give up my super friends.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, Ken, for those very, very kind words. I echo every single one of them of just how valuable Green Butterfly is, what she brings to the table each and every week, the optimism that I have been able to listen to so much of for the last, 9, almost 10 years that I have been listening to you, Green Butterfly, give amazing feedback. And not only that, but being partners together. It is a huge, huge honor. All right, let's go again back in time. You and I were able to sit down We gave our impressions of the last 2 episodes. That was the full Made of Steel, episode 159. And wouldn't you know, we got a little bit of after show.
Of course we did. I mean, it wouldn't be Made of Steel without the fantastic after show.
Absolutely. All right, so rather than try and summarize, because there's so much stuff in here, we're just going to jump in and just share it with you guys because...
Just both feet. Here we go.
Here we go. Because we feel like this is really excellent content. And some of it may repeat in terms of the feedback that we'll be talking about here in a little while. Honestly, we don't know because we've not gone over it all word for word. So we're just going to do the best we know how. We're going to jump in and see where it goes from there. All right. So it started out from Ken from Chicago. He sums up the last 2 episodes. He says, the good. Esme guilt-tripping Lex and Nixley effortlessly like a boss. You go, Esme. The powers that be finally remembering Melissa Benoist is an excellent singer. All the Glee fans going, duh. Love does not conquer all. If you keep choosing to be evil, looking at you, Lex. Big Brother Guardian and Little Sister Guardian team up. William Day Memorial. School? Fund? Foundation? Something. Last season, Lex blasted Supergirl into the Phantom Zone. This season, the tables have turned. Nixley's arc returns her full circle back into the Phantom Zone, reaping what she's sown. People inspired by Supergirl's season-ending speech to save a cat without superheroes. And response time from the government agency to detect, track down, and send forces to deal with the sun-draining menace. 2 minutes. Awesome. The wedding outfits and the wedding song. Folksy cover of Pat Benatar's We Belong.
The bad. So, Alex was going to give the totem to Nixley and Lex to be all-powerful to save her daughter, to live however long in a world where Nixley and Lex are all-powerful? With 5 seconds left to fully drain the sun into supercharging Supergirl, they argue they shouldn't have done so for 10 seconds? That's terrible.
It's
the
true.
sun is dying.
Yeah.
It's true. Totally true.
Yeah.
They had to drain the sun in the middle of the city, not in the upper atmosphere outside of town where they wouldn't scare people? It's a valid point, Ken. Very valid. Where was Kelly in all this talk about Alex and her daughter? Honestly, most of the focus has been on Alex and Esme. Even James told Kelly that it would be great for Alex and Esme to have her. It was Kelly who was a social worker and met and befriended Esme first, and her idea to adopt her, and Alex, who hadn't said one word about motherhood for years, just agreed. Esme feeling like nothing good happens to her for long. For that reason alone, Nixley and Lex deserve any torment in the Phantom Zone. Needlessly picking on and scaring kids. Ugh, the worst.
His what segment? How did they report William's death to the police? Did the police cordon off and investigate the tower? Did they move his body elsewhere? Well, yeah, I guess they certainly did because the blood was still on the floor. Next point. So Brainy doesn't figure out until after going back to the future that he can stay in the past because the future is unwritten? Question mark? Wait, wasn't the bridge site of the Omega Hedron explosion supposed to negate all powers and tech just before powers and tech fight free for all broke out? So I think I can answer this one. It's because because Lex blew up the bridge, they all kind of fell down to the ground. And so the ground was not under the protection of the exploded bridge.
Of the magic bridge that I'm pretty sure we didn't know existed before.
Because bridge. Did Kara tell her family and friends she was going public with her secret identity? She has a ton of enemies. The Agent Liberty forces alone would love to stalk Kara's friends to make her pay. So
that's worrisome.
Alex took the Destiny Stone. Kara has super speed and strength. She could have easily taken it back. Why was Kara acting like she was helpless? I think at that point she didn't want to start an all-out war with Alex. So yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting question.
I feel like she wasn't getting through to her, so she felt like she just had to give her way in this moment and hope that when the battle actually came to a head that her plan would work.
Yeah. So
it wouldn't matter that Alex took the totems.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm thinking that's what she was hoping for.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point, Ken, okay, so if Alex and Kelly succeed in giving her the Allstone and all that, like, what kind of future are they signing up for? And who wants to live in that? But anyway, short-term thinking.
Yeah, I mean, Alex was completely in panic mode, not logic mode, for sure.
Yes.
The Great. Lillian Luthor, OG Season 1 Supergirl villain, and still outwits Lex and dresses like a boss. Inside of 5 minutes, with mere words, she does what the Super Friends couldn't do all season. Undermine the Nixley-Lex alliance. Also, scolds Lex for touching a chess piece. She was right. It is a rule in chess. If you touch a piece, you have to move it. Speaking of OG Season 1 awesomeness, Cat Grant returns. Not only does she return, but she returns like a boss. Much like Kira's consternation, but Cat knew. Cat always knew. Cat was never fooled. Why? Because glasses was a stupid disguise. Also, she provided the proper maternal scolding Kara needed to stop being wishy-washy and make an actual decision about something in her own life. She can make a decision to save the world, even risky decisions, but for herself, she hems and haws.
Good point. Good point. What the frill? Speaking of risky decisions.
I like this new category.
That's right. What the frill is a decision to drain the sun? Question mark? Lena was right. The sun is, kind of important. But Supergirl is not only downplaying with being without sunlight for months, but if it comes to it, she'll just put the sun, quote unquote, back in orbit? What? There are no words for how cosmically bad that idea is. Remember a few weeks back saying how the sun is 99% of the solar system's mass? Imagine someone just moving the sun. Imagine someone just dragging the Earth out of orbit. That's nothing compared to the gravitational destruction of moving the sun out of its orbit of the center of the galaxy.
There are so many potential problems with that idea. And Brainy's a 12th level intellect, and he brought
went
it up.
right along with it. Yeah.
Well, he's the one that started it. Oh, my goodness gracious. The Cosmically Great. Justina, John, Emily, and Karen, as well as all the commenters, feedbackers, emailers, voicemailers to the podcasts, Supergirl Radio, Tomorrow's Legends, and other Golden Spiral Media podcast guest team-ups for podcasts over the lifetime of this podcast. Supergirl was right. She inspired us all to be the heroes to help each other. While I hope you might go on to cover Stargirl, I think the Green Butterfly and Silverfox would be right at home at Blue Valley. However, I think we'd understand if you wanted to take a break and let everyone deal with all the backstage stuff of running a podcast. Either way, thank you one and all for Made of Steel.
Yeah.
You are so sweet, Ken. I appreciate you so much.
Absolutely. We do want to make sure everybody is aware that our friends over there at Tomorrow's Legends are covering Stargirl and have done an amazing job.
And are doing a great job at it.
So they've covered both seasons so far, and I know we're looking forward to whenever season 3 comes in 2022. All right. So Erin had some responses to this. She wanted to talk about Nyxly getting what she deserved. Back in the Phantom Zone, Erin says Nyxly did not deserve to be there in the first place. So to have to send her back felt really crappy to me. Did she fight with the team? Yes. Did the team bring it on themselves by not letting her go to the fifth dimension like she wanted originally? Yes. She didn't care about Earth and only caused havoc because Kara tried to stop her from her quest. And why? Why does Kara care about her killing her father? He's a bad dude. Yeah. I really don't like Nyxly getting sent back. So, arguing about it for 10 seconds? Laugh out loud. That got me so much. Brainy is like 8, 7, 6. And they're like, no, this isn't right. We have to stop. Are you sure? That alone took the time before Brainy ever hit the button. Therefore, the sun is drained. They had to do it in the middle of the city. She says this. How did they report William's death? Did they remove his body? She says, great questions. Wait, wasn't the bridge the whole thing? Shh, Ken. We're required to have 1 to 2 big fight scenes for the series finale of any series. But yes, that is what they said. What they did was the exact opposite. Much like with all they do this season. Maybe they were operating under the idea of no bridge, no rules. And thusly blew it up to get the CGI explosion of punches. There's so many problems with Kara coming out. It's like, where do you even begin? You, of course, have the enemies, and if they look at Kara, can see Alex, and Alex has her own roster who wants her dead, so yeah, personal safety for all is out the window. You have the fact that she's going to be sued at least 10 times a year, if not for more, for property damage. and the Incredibles' potential of saving someone who didn't want to be saved. And now she has to pay for injuries, and as Maggie said, there are people who use the Supergirl defense to get out of, and so now they have added bias to say she was just harassing them to write a story for her paper. You've got the never-ending, hey, can you help me do XYZ? Because they know where Kara lives and who she is. Like, I get the idea behind her coming out, but the reality is she can't be both Kara and Supergirl to the world. Because while some will let her be, others will want the Supergirl side for their own profit or desires, and she's basically just made it impossible for herself to have a normal life now. If she was like a comic book or animated series versions of herself where her job is basically being Supergirl, and she lives on the Watchtower because no one can bother her there, so she gets to be Kara to some, that would be one thing. But I just can't buy her staying in the city and being out because every 5 minutes, someone is going to either call in Catco or help moving a refrigerator or for a cat stuck in a tree. And if they see her on the street, they'll ask for autographs and pictures. She's just made a bigger mess in reality than she knows, I think. Why was she acting so helpless? Exactly. She should also have not lost the race to Lex and Nyxly, because she had super speed, and so she should have had all the stone pieces in that fight in the streets. Never really could have happened. OG Lillian. Lillian is from Season 2, not 1. Maxwell Lord was our Season 1 Luthor stand-in, and he was so good, too. More profit. Why we ever needed Lex, actually, on the series. John and Justita doing a Stargirl podcast would be fun for sure, Ken, but I can't see them going in their reality because they wouldn't want to step on Martin and Jess's toes, given they've been doing the series since it starts on Tomorrow's Legends. Thank you all for Made of Steel. That is seconded.
Ken responds, "You're right, Aaron. Nixley didn't deserve to be sent into the Phantom Zone in the first place. However, she actively betrayed Kara, who was trying to help her out of the zone. And after escaping the zone, Nixley did fight with Supergirl and the Super Friends and terrorize and kill innocent people, destroyed homes of the down and out, and triggered a nuclear war between nations." He continues, "She also made Esme feel bad."
Boom.
So that is a true crime. That kid is the best. So in the time after escaping the Phantom Zone, Nixley had sowed multiple times to win and reaped the full whirlwind of her own actions. As the Flash has trouble learning, not every villain chooses redemption from a really good talking to. Sorry, I forgot about the season finale requiring a big CGI fight. My bad. Iron Man can come out as Tony Stark because he didn't have family and his only friends were people in company or other wealthy celebs with security staffs of their own. Kara failed to use her powers to make herself rich and establish a secure secret haven, and the fortress is technically Clark's. Even on Superman and Lois, it seems to have been stripped of much of its advanced alien technology and be mostly an Arctic cave. Maybe with the DEO reveal, maybe they can be tasked to secure Alex, John, and the Super Friends. Oh, I guess since Kat was in season 2, I mixed Lillian up with season 1 because I associate Kat with season 1 and only just now remember she was recurring in season 2. Well, Justine and John have different styles than Martin and Jeff and Jess. Like they are different from Rebecca and Morgan, who host Supergirl Radio. There's room for multiple podcasts. That said, I respect them leaving space for tomorrow's legends.
Alrighty. Aaron comes back about Kara helping her Nixley out of the Phantom Zone. Yeah, I felt that was for drama because there's no way that she would have fought then in the first place. Nixley did bad, yes, but they could have just helped her find the stones in exchange for setting things right with the building and letting her go home to wreck that because, yeah, that sucks. She didn't get vengeance on her evil father. Yes, tragically, Kat was only in an episode of season 2. And I'm going to make Justina mad with this, but real talk, they're overplaying Esme's cuteness, and it's annoying. It makes me mad seeing her sad. Didn't both that much. Ha. Okay, I'm not sure I got that right. But anyway, I'd be down for a Stargirl, Justina John podcast, as the series deserves love, but because they're doing it right still. Keeping their writers was a big win for that series as it allows for continuity and structure, which we lost with our shakeup. I don't know how the same writers who did Falling could allow the show to go to such unrecognizable place. But yeah, I don't know how Justine and John feel about the closeness to Tomorrow's Legends. And then Daryl comes in.
Daryl comes into the after show to say, I think that Nixley was truly fighting against sexism, and she was going to bring that to the 5th dimension and take down her father, but the Super Friends stopped her from fighting her true enemy. And I just want to pause here and say that I really do feel like that's what I really wanted. I, the Green Butterfly, wanted Nixley to be gone from Earth because she was causing far too much trouble, damage, and problems. But I really wanted her banished to the 5th dimension to go along with her imp storyline. Because I definitely saw some parts of her that were good when she was protecting Esme from Lex and had enough love in her heart to pass the love gauntlet. That's when I decided that I personally didn't want to see her go back to the Phantom Zone. I wanted her off Earth, and I wanted her back to the fifth dimension. So I think that would have been my choice versus putting her back, because she definitely deserved punishment, but I wish it wasn't the Phantom Zone.
Indeed. Ken comes back and says, I'm so sorry, K-Vox, Nightwatch, and all the Super Pets for forgetting to thank you for your valuable contribution to the podcast, being awesome inspirations to your humans in the best and worst of times. And speaking of Super Pets, was there a flying horse in the Supergirl season finale? I don't know.
There was a dragon. There was definitely a dragon.
Yeah, I don't know about a flying horse. I didn't
see a flying horse. I'm going to have to watch it again. But there was definitely a dragon.
All right, on to Erin's usual after-show content.
So on the blog post, she says, she quotes me saying, Nixley predicts that if all the petals are allowed to fall, the totem will find a new host and will be lost to them. And she comments, which is dumb because they have the Pokemon ball of location, so they could just find it when it appears the next time. The super team would just be so happy to have Esme back. They wouldn't be racing to get it first, even if they saw where it went.
Good thought.
I agree with that. That is a good thought. In the final moments of absorbing extra sunlight, Kara had second thoughts. And to that quote, she says, she's totally absorbed that sun. They spent too much time debating over stopping and stopped it and didn't stop in time for nothing to happen. And I knew that this last line would make Erin smile, and because she has been so sad over this season of Supergirl, I actually thought of her and all of our feedbackers that laugh over Kara being Pulitzer Prize winning. As I wrote, she is Kara Danvers, Pulitzer Prize winning reporter and Supergirl. And she says, lol, well, one of those things is true. And then she goes on to the poll question was, did the Supergirl finale bring you any joy? I see what you're doing. By putting the word any in there, you're forcing our hands to say yes in this poll because, of course, seeing Kat again is going to bring people joy, even for a second. And you know Daryl has to admit that Lena was so hot that there's so much joy there, too. And Kelly was gorgeous in that dress. This, by design, is a trap question, and I'm falling for it. Yes, there was brief moments in which I enjoyed the series final, but not enough to vote yes, so I'm selecting no. Dang it, I thought I had her.
On to the podcast.
Almost had her.
She says the once airing, and she's got a tear. He fetches his dinner every night really well. Lol. Hey, given how Barry took baby Sarah from us and made her baby Jean, I'm cool with him balancing the scales with the Superman kid. Again, there's like this idea that Superman can have a girl because that wouldn't be manly or something. I mean, that's all I can assume because he could have easily had one to nod to Supergirl, where our hero is Aunt Kara or Alex, since we created their series. But again, they don't like to acknowledge us, so it feels so, yeah. I do distrust Barry with time, and will consider this a balance for the whole Baby Sarah thing on Arrow. No screwing with Alex Danvers, though, unless you're going to take her back to Season 3, where we had the DEO Danvers and potential Agent Arias. Nothing else, though, Barry. I'm watching you. Mon is toxic to Kara. John's the Silverbox's William is a nice, humorous addition to this season. Given the way she talks, I think it was this show's dumb decision to move on from Rain/Sam because Odette is ready to go as much as Nicole is ready to suit up again the moment they ask because she loves her character. Granted, she can't right now because she's on Walker, but if she had free time and the show was on, she'd like to do it, I feel like. They could bring her back for the Alex spinoff if they were smart enough to have an Alex spinoff, which they aren't, because if they did, there'd already be rumors of one. Well, as you know, Justina, the writers want fans to think Sam doesn't have powers because Lena took them when they locked up Rain, so she can't help in fights in the same way. But we know the truth and we want it back. Hashtag Sam still has powers.
Well, crap, John. If they put Sam on Superman show as a regular, I might have to cave and watch. And then for her, because Sam is my favorite character after Alex, that would definitely push my resolve on the no watch front. Ha! Epic, it was not. I am going to like the writers of the series and get lazy thusly. I just ask that they make an extended version of Kara because I don't really care to see garbage again and find a few extra moments that might be good for me. Did you watch the extended version of Kara on the CW app? Because there is one, Team Huntress.
Yeah, she was saying she probably didn't want that because she didn't want to go searching for stuff that might be okay.
Oh, she didn't want to watch it again on the CW app. Now I understand. Now I'm on the same page. Of course, Superman gets extra things, Daryl. They don't care about Kara, and they haven't since like season 3, although you could make an argument that they stopped post season 1. The minute he came on the show, she went out tragically. Happy birthday, Jeff. They let random stranger William be a friend, so why not Andrea? Huh. I could buy Alex going with Kara and getting the totem because she wants to make sure they can get Esme back with it. And if need be, I could even buy Alex disagreeing with Kara to set up a confrontation between them like this, but I couldn't get Kara just rolling over and letting her take it. It's something less at stake than the world. It makes sense for this to happen, given Alex is her hero and she doesn't like to make her mad. But here, she should have said, I don't have time for this. I will get Esme back. And if need be, knock Alex out. Or even ask, do you trust me or not? To show, as John said, that Kara has this, it's not an improbable moment, but it was annoying, especially in the series final, where, yes, we want sister moments, but happy ones, not fighting ones over something that just came into being last week. Mon is never needed back. Also not needed back. Guardian. Any Guardian. The drywall was better than the tower, I would argue. Mm-hmm. I agree, Justina. Nixley should been to go to the 5th dimension long ago. And I agree, John. Lillian got gypped in characterization.
It's gotten in the way of every job I've ever had. Lol. You've only had one job and you barely do it. It's lines like this that makes the show in part a joke now instead of having a better legacy. Kara hid who she was and what she could do and was fine with it until Alex was in trouble, and so the only job we see her have to hide is at Catco. And yeah, it didn't affect that at all, given that she was still there, so I can't take it seriously. If we saw Kara with a new job where she was fired by Snapper, it might be one thing. But as it is, it just didn't feel like it was an earned comment, nor her saying she struggled with not coming out before, because again, she was fine until they wrote in these bullcrap lines for her to say, so that they could just do this plot because they needed something for Kara to do on her own show at the last series shot. Instead of saving her as myself, you were literally in jeans and a t-shirt when you saved the plane. Shut up. Here's George's Carler jingle in the background. Lol, she knows it's bad too, and I assume she's shaking her head. If they hadn't made her Morgana Luthor, basically, then she could have had a good ending like Nia, but got that magic man. It just didn't work for me. So yeah, I still feel Nia only has the truest and best ending from where the character started to where they ended.
Lol to Alex saying 3 years, because that's the exact time the show was good, aka season 3. She was totally ready to adopt Ruby if anything happened to Sam. So yeah, I don't buy a lot of her lines. Kelly's vows were overall really good, and I loved the part, especially when she wished she could say she always knew, but she couldn't because that felt real. Also, Kelly in her wedding dress, amazing. Had Kelly been anyone but Kelly Olsen, I think I could have enjoyed this more. I'm not sure I ship them, because until the end, they were just kissy face instead of showing why they were good together. But I could have been a little bit more at peace with this ending altogether. But because she's an Olsen and tied to Jimmy, they just constantly made me think of Jimmy and Kara, who I didn't ship either. I always felt James loved Supergirl more than Kara. I couldn't get past that, how it was just dropped. And so, like, for me, it was always an open wound. And yeah, I just really stopped me from enjoying those two. I didn't mind married Alex at the end, and I liked Kelly overall when she wasn't in her brother's shadow because by being Guardian. But I really couldn't get excited by them being married at the end. CBS could not have given us 6 years, it's true. But the question becomes, is one amazing season better than 3 years of trash that we sat through with 2 extra seasons of varying quality? Would Supergirl have been better off ending after season 3 if we knew it was going to fall apart after that? It's nice to see the actors' faces and see the characters, but I like them actually in character. So yeah, as much as I wished for 10 seasons before, I'm glad they're not damaging them with more years of Supergirl. As I said in my opinion, I feel like season 3 and 4 through 6 for sure was Clark Danvers. So I wonder, were the extra 2 years worth it? And given season 3, I would say yes. So I do appreciate the CW for taking over. I just wish they had held on to the care for the series they had early on instead of changing it and letting it be massacred in the end, because when the series was good and had care, it was good. And then when it stopped, man, did it fall apart, like Kara being dropped by rain, just a crater on the ground by series end, instead of flying high, sadly, like we saw in season 1. I'm going to miss Made of Steel and the super fandom we've created.
Yeah. Ken from Chicago replies, Brainy actually makes it down to 5 seconds. 4, 3, and Kara changes her mind and takes 10 seconds to convince him. And he has a clip to prove it. He also says, I was thinking, why not have the change of heart at the 30-second mark, as she'd have time to talk. Instead, it reminded me of a parody of Team Arrow running out of time while talking. Daryl says, honestly, I didn't buy Kara's reasoning as to why she failed the courage gauntlet. The fact the writers thought that would be good enough just shows their lack of writing skill with the totem storyline. Oh, Daryl, don't get me started. Aaron says, so many facts, Daryl. If the team had left her alone to look for the totems, or even helped her so she could go kill her father, so she would have put everything right and left them be. So really, who's the real bad guy this season? Besides Lex, of course. I also agree, I don't buy that as to why she didn't pass the Courage Totem either, as there are legit reasons to not put yourself as a hero like she is. Again, see Oliver Queen in jail, and his company failing, and he's human. Imagine if he was alien like Kara. I think they threw it in there to attempt not to have it be a loose end, but they had so many other loose ends like Kenny and Jeremiah. It's like, why die on that hill when you have two other people wanted to resolve more? Again, spoiler for my feedback, but I found way more issues in the final than I did enjoyment in it. There's so many brief moments spread throughout the 2 hours, but overall, it was a dud as a series finale. It works for the season because the season was so crazy, but series finale.
Ken responds, Nixley may have had a good motive in ending sexism in her home dimension, or bad motive in wanting revenge against her sexist father favoring his son, but her methods were wrong, and the ends do not justify horrible, murderous means that Nixley is using. In fact, because of Nixley's choice of bad means, she ended up back in the Phantom Zone, and sexism still remains in the fifth dimension. Imagine if Nixley had asked Supergirl and the Super Friends to help. Sure, they wouldn't help her in murder, but maybe Supergirl would decline, because that would be interfering in fifth-dimensional people's government because of the Prime Directive she's invoking for the first time this season, despite having interfered in politics before, earlier this season, but whatever. At least that would give Nixley more reason to hate them and make it personal. Yeah, it was never revealed that Miss Tessmacher killed Jeremiah Danvers, and Kenny being alive was not a Chekhov's love interest, and Kara never went back to Argo. Ultimately, this season seemed messed up because of COVID and on the CW deciding to drop the axe. I keep getting the feeling that decision not to renew for a seventh season, a first for an Arrowverse show, was well into development of the season, so they couldn't back out of what was already started in the season and respond to it because of the developing COVID provisions. Earl says, I think maybe the real reason they kept Kenny alive was the same reason they kept Michaela alive. They just didn't want to have a plot where they killed a child.
Ken replies, I wish it was the only totem line that had poor writing. It was only one of the latest examples of poor writing on the series. Worst of all, there have been examples of really good writing, which makes the overall lack thereof even more painful. And Erin finally wraps things up. She says, imagine if Nixley had asked for Supergirl and the Super Friends' help. This is fair, Ken. Again, I still don't get them having Nixley attack her originally because you were looking for a way out. What did it matter what else came with you? I'm fine, as John and Justina have said, having Nixley stopped, but her going to the Phantom Zone when we know the why of her being there originally didn't sit well with me. Let her go be the first captive of the new DEO or something. But sending her back? No thank you to that. You can only blame COVID so much. Like, COVID probably did account for the lame, limited character moments we saw, but COVID didn't affect the writing, which was still trash. Melissa having a baby, I think, gave her a reason not to stay, so that didn't help. And if she didn't have the kid, maybe we would have gotten more seasons, but she doesn't have that extra pull on her attention, and I think she's just over it. So that played a part in it, and not that I can blame her given how they wrote Kara for years. Maybe the network teased not renewing it because of ratings, which were still higher than Legends, so if you tease cancellations, you should start there. And Melissa was like, okay, bye. Because we know she's tired of some of the effects taking a toll on her body, and again, Kara isn't Kara. She herself hyped and loved early on, so it goes back to maybe it was a mutual decision to end the series. Melissa is the star, and you can't do it without her, and they made it too easy for her to walk. They had almost a year-long shutdown to come up with plots before they started filming on top of the hiatus they were already in, Ken. They could have done better. A prime example, if you're going to write a fundamental change to a character's history, you better pay that off. Kenny should have been at the wedding. Alex easily could have come up to Kara, who had caught the flowers as she was feeling sad and was so worked, consumed, and wondering what's beyond Supergirl given the new job offer, and said, look who I found. She leaves her with Kenny to fall back in love. Or maybe Kenny himself just walks up and says, hi. It's a visual representation of future possibilities. Not having Kenny at the end, or at least a reference to him, means they changed Midvale, and for what? That's bad writing to entertain the fans, and now you've just made them mad. Worst of all, there have been examples of really good writing, which make the overall lack thereof even more painful from Ken. So many times, Ken, have I yelled at the screen saying, why can't you do more of this? When they slip up with a decent moment, as you say, instead of being excited by if you're just mad because you know they'll garbage it up by the end. Again, how the same team who was over season 1's falling let the show fall to this degree, I don't understand. And why did no one step in when they saw it going down? Someone please explain to me why Caitlin Parrish wasn't given a shot as showrunner when they saw ratings going down after season 3, or why someone else wasn't. I use her because I wanted to see her as she did some of my favorite stuff in season 1. They already changed teams once, why not again? It's not like the Arrowverse is known for its consistency behind the scenes, unless you're Stargirl, who somehow scored one of the biggest boons of all time by keeping their original creative team, and it shows in their quality. Oh, Supergirl. If you could have done the same, we probably wouldn't be in this mess now. We'd be talking about season 7, or at least a better final. Okay, that is a lot of intro to where the after show went. But I'm glad we covered it all. This is the level we don't normally go for it word for word, but this is the kind of level that has been in all these episode discussions. So if you're going back and rewatching these episodes, go back to our blog posts. They're not going anywhere. And check out these discussions. Get in on them. So they're all still open for you guys to have at.
Yeah, you can always post comments.
Yes.
They never close out.
All right. So Leslie also had comments about episode 159, which was you and me. She said, Justine and John, you gave respectively episode 19, The Last Gauntlet, and episode 20, Kara, a 10 and an 8. I suspect that these ratings were influenced by the fact that episode 20 struck a better and more familiar series tone than episode 19 did. But my question to you, if these finale series episodes merited such high ratings, what would you have given Myriad and Better Angels from season 1? By comparison, these latter two episodes are pitch perfect 10s, especially looking back on the series as a whole. She goes on to discuss the season 6 soundtrack. Blake Neely's soundtrack for season 6 dropped on Friday, November 12th. The season 6 soundtrack had some pretty exciting and dynamic songs with several musical references to Supergirl's theme. The soundtrack makes it seem as if the final season was more about Supergirl than actually was, because you hear her theme a lot. I think the soundtrack is quite good. I love Blake Neely's music for Supergirl, especially Season 1 and Season 3 soundtracks. There are a lot of themes from Season 3 in this newest one. The music from Supergirl's Death, where Alex wills her back to life in Red Dawn, Season 4, Episode 22, which wasn't a track in the Season 4 soundtrack, can be heard at the 3-minute mark of Welcome Back, Kara, track 4 of Season 6. There was a reprise of the music when Kara used Red Daughter's purple heat vision to defeat Lex in Quest for Peace, Season 4, Episode 22, in the Allstone Shatters, track 12 of Season 6. And the Season 6 soundtrack ends with Taking Off the Glasses, where the grandeur of Supergirl's theme is played with a powerful and grand trombone undercurrent. The Season 6 soundtrack also includes Melissa Benoist and Jeremy Jordan's cover of Pat Benatar's song We Belong. This song brings the show full circle. Stronger Together, Season 1, Episode 2, played Pat Benatar's Hit Me With Your Best Shot when Wynn and James mentored a new Supergirl on how to save people and be a hero. The Season 6 soundtrack has other themes too. Lex's theme is in The Last Gauntlet, track 11. Kara and Mon-El's love theme is in Do the Work Every Day, track 13. Mixie's theme is found in Mixie in the Middle, track 6. And I'm glad that Neely did not reprise Having a Good Sister, the Danvers sister theme from Season 3, which Season 6 inappropriately, in my opinion, used for an Alex Kelly and Esme scene. While the Kara episode reprised Supergirl's emotional music of Harnessing Anger theme music from Seasons 1, 2, and 3, most notably in Exodus, Season 2, Episode 15, when Supergirl saved Alex from jumping to light speed in the ship, when Supergirl was doing yet another Hope speech, I cannot find this music anywhere on the Season 6 soundtrack. I'm also disappointed that the soundtrack didn't reprise Supergirl's and Kat's theme music from Season 1, Interview Granted. But overall, I found the Season 6 soundtrack is quite enjoyable. Awesome. Thank you for that review of that, Leslie, and we will hear more from you in a little while.
And I was thrilled to find out that if you have Amazon Unlimited music streaming service, because that's the streaming service I use, that the Season 6 soundtrack is included in that subscription.
Excellent. And it is on Spotify as well, as that's the one that I use. All right, let's get into the feedback that we had that came in from all over the place.
I'm here to talk about Supergirl.
All right. It is time for feedback.
Oh, I love feedback.
I know you do.
I get it, you're always working.
But I've also been absent, and I'm here to change that, so just tell me what's on your mind.
All right, let's get into it. Mr. Darrell Washington says, the writers obviously don't care they've created more questions than answers by blowing up the Omegahedron. The Omegahedron has become Jeremiah, essentially a plot point long forgotten by the writers, brought back for 2 seconds just to say it's dead, Jeremiah, or blown up, Omegahedron, so the audience can stop asking their very justified questions on where these plot points have been Bringing up random mentions of Season 1 plots makes it seem like the writers just want us to stop asking and move on. It's really the only season they brought up Bizarro Girl when Red Daughter attacked the White House. Why does it exploding render superpowers and technology inert? One of my issues with the show is that they bring up random former plot threads so fast you can't catch them even when you pay attention, and it forces you to rewatch an episode you otherwise might not.
Andrea is an awful boss, but hardly a monster. Someone I love dying on my watch. They made William so close to them so fast that it hardly feels justified. We know that Eve killed Jeremiah, but the characters never knew this. I call that a waste. Also a waste is leaving Kenny alive, but not bringing him back after the prom episodes. What kind of world am I living in where I agree with Lillian? Lex hates Alien and yet loves Nixley? I got questions about this. It makes no sense. This show often creates conflict just to fill screen time, and nowhere was that more apparent than in the Alex and Kara scenes in this episode. Alex is not listening at first, but realizing that Kara was right the whole time. Literally last week, the writing is terribly basic. Alex tries to handle the situation on her own, only to realize the power of being on a team can bring, and they handle the business together. They could have had Supergirl power up anywhere, yet they chose the middle of the city? Why? So Kara could see how her actions were affecting people and have yet another thing to feel bad about? They probably only picked that location to do it so Kara could realize how wrong it was. What does it mean when I enjoy a scene where Nixley passes the gauntlet more than the Super Friends? So why did Lex and Nixley's faces change like that at the end? Yet another show that didn't bother to explain, or at least not an explanation that makes any sense.
That is a huge point. They turned reptilian all of a sudden. It's like, what?
It was really, I don't know. That's the only answer I have. I really don't know.
There you go. He continues, where is Magan? Wynn says
also,
that she...
don't know.
Wynn says that she... Exactly, Georgia. Wynn says that she and John have a son together in the future, but she's been gone for a while. Why keep Kenny alive in the prom episodes, but not him bring him back to the present? Since when has editor-in-chief been Kara's dream job? Why reveal to the audience that Eve was manipulated by Lex to kill Jeremiah, but keep the characters in the dark? I was pretty disappointed not to see Imra come back. The way Lex and Nixley went out was such a joke. They had them built up to be this giant threat, and yet the Super Friends didn't even have a hand in their ultimate defeat. I think it's a little unfair that even in the last episode, we didn't get an intro. We all know the relationship between Alex and Kara is the very heart of this show, yet they have the nerve to make us wait half a season for a sister's couch scene.
So, is Andrea going to tell anyone about her hand in William's death? Or was her asking Lena if she was a monster just about it? They really gave Kara a coming out to the world story in the last 10 minutes. Like that story couldn't have been fleshed out over its own season. So is John going to give up his PI business to go help run the DEO? He might as well, since he never did much with that anyway. That reference to the Supergirl movie really made no sense in the contents of the scene. Refresh my memory, but I don't remember her having a shotgun in it. I had a feeling that John's speech at the dance and wedding could have applied to Sanford's as a couple as well. It's way past time that Cat Grant is the owner of Catgo again. James and Andrea were not what that company needed, and I don't know why Kara has forgotten this, but you can empower the people through the media. Kara has power of reporter, but they always have her constantly forgetting that. Speaking of the Olsen's mom, where is she? Because they never have her meet Alex or Esme, and that would be nice. I'm glad Kat finally told Kara she knows the truth. She revealed she knew the truth back in season 1, but it didn't go well when she had her suspicions confirmed later. She knew to keep it to herself. I love Lena's wedding outfit. Luther purple. I don't like Kat constantly getting Kara's name wrong on purpose. It's not cute or fun. It's just disrespectful. I love Kara, but it is pure arrogance to have so many heroes in the world and still think that it all has to fall on your shoulders. I don't quite buy the last-minute explanation of why Kara did not pass the courage gauntlet. Now that Kara is a boss, she will have to show up to work every day. Lol. And Nia will have to return to work too. When's the last time we saw her at Catco?
He says, I think maybe the reason they brought Kenny back to life is the same reason they never had Mikhail die. They don't want the audience mad at them for killing a child. But much like Mikhail, they managed to mess up because now I'm wondering why I keep Kenny alive just to leave him in the past. The fact that Kara has the power to just quit her job rather than get justifiably fired just shows her level of job security and Andrea's weakness as a boss. I was listening to the Cat Grant clip again. Is anyone else a little insulted on behalf of the characters that when they figure out on their own that Kara is Supergirl, she acts incredibly surprised? Kat, Maggie, Lillian, Esme figured it out, and every time Kara acts like it's some great universal mystery. Kara never thinks for a moment someone would have the ability to figure it out. Awesome stuff. All right, Daryl. So many good things in here. One of the things I don't think we spent a whole lot of time on in our discussion was the explanation of the Courage Gauntlet. And, I'm sorry. If the answer is that she should have been just able to do it as Kara Danvers and not worry and not put together the persona of Supergirl, I just can't really buy that as a good reason for all the things that Aaron has already brought up in the after show, right? I mean, and just for all the different reasons of getting used or the publicity alone would be overwhelming. So I don't know. I have a real hard time with how they sort of didn't wrap that up.
Yeah, I also don't like that. I really had grand visions before the finale of Kara being able to retake the Courage Gauntlet and have this act of courage that lets her pass it, because she is strong. Not just strong like steel, but Kara's will is strong. And she's our paragon of hope. Like, she has courage. I know she does. So it was disappointing to not see her succeed. I mean, like, it was sort of good to see her not pass all these gauntlets on the first try, because that would be boring as well. And we want to see our hero struggle a little bit, because that, at least for me, is what makes me really enjoy them, when they're not perfect and they show their weaknesses. But so it was fine for her to identify the weakness that made her not be able to pass the courage gauntlet, but having them the writers not take the time to have in the story her learning and then retrying and then succeeding in that gauntlet, I feel was sad that we're missing out on that.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Daryl. And just a little insight here. I love that while you guys just heard all of Daryl, like Daryl's just sort of been peppering in these comments like every day or every other day. Like he'll think of something else and he'll send it to us. And he'll think of something else and he'll send it to us. So I absolutely love that. He is putting so much time and dedication. He went back and listened to the clip. I know he went back to episode 159 today and went through some things to make sure that he had everything covered. I mean, guys, I cannot say enough about what this community means and how you guys are so dedicated to this material, to us as hosts. It's fantastic.
That's exactly why, even though I knew that it was going to take a lot of time this week, I really wanted to read the after show so that in case you've never had the opportunity to go over there and read it, you would understand the level of thought that goes into this and the amount of time it takes to put these thoughts together. And I am super thankful for all of it.
Absolutely. I am so excited. We had many of you record your thoughts in your voices, which is exactly what we were asking for. And I'm thrilled to have that. So we're going to play right here, Mr. Kerry Johnson.
Hey, it's Kerry, aka Perry White, here with feedback on Supergirl, both the series and the finale as a focus. I mean, it's very rare that a series finale lives up to the hype or meets our expectations, no matter how unreasonable they may be. But Supergirl, it arrived like a breath of fresh air in the fall of 2015. It had a legit network behind it, and it debuted to nearly 13 million viewers. I know the show would kill for those kind of numbers right about now. But for a generation of people, Melissa Benoist is Supergirl, and she's carried that mantle incredibly well. She deserves a boatload of kudos for that. She and the show have navigated a network change, some significant cast shifts, and to be quite honest, they've sort of dealt with a set of writers who, in my opinion, have created less than stellar narratives for this cast to work with. And it doesn't matter how stellar your cast is. It doesn't matter how skilled they are. To ask them to rise above the scripts all the time, that's a tough road to hoe for a show, and they can't always do it, but they've tried their darndest, and I'm appreciative of that. All right, let's get to this finale. As for the finale itself, I just felt it suffered under the weight of having to conclude this messy totem storyline, which, I mean, other than gifting us with the delicious villainous moments of Peter Sargent, it was entirely more convoluted than it needed to be. Beyond that, we also had to deal with the till now undisclosed narrative of Lena as a witch. I mean, it's sort of like, hey, let's just throw this here at the end and let's mix this story up as even more than we thought we were going to do. And if that's not enough, they also had the Alex storyline to wrap up. Basically her marriage, of course, and the fact that she wanted and now has a kid. I mean, that's a lot to have to deal with, for a season. And then, of course, to have a series finale wrap it up. That was just a lot. And so because of that, I mean, the banishment of Lex and Nixley there at the end, well, I say the end, but basically about 15, 20 minutes into the second hour, it just sort of seemed like an afterthought. It's like, hey, here are some phantoms. We'll whisk these guys away. And that's that, right? It just seemed anticlimactic. And then you had Brainy and Nia's apparent star-crossed love story to sort of have to wrap up. And to be quite honest, I was never incredibly invested in that relationship. It just never seemed like it had the room to grow. And it may just have been me, but there just didn't seem to be a whole lot of chemistry between the two. And the fact that they were basically sort of trying to deal with the heartache of understanding that their love was going to be this sort of star-crossed thing where they weren't going to be together. I guess it was supposed to be heart-wrenching, but I didn't find it very heart-wrenching because, like I said before, I really didn't care a whole lot about that relationship. Of course, it didn't help that, just moments after they parted ways in a tearful goodbye, Brainy just shows up all of a sudden and is like, hey, our love is strong and screw the future, whatever. It just seems incredibly flippant and messy, and it didn't seem to have any sort of real point to it other than just being drama for drama's sake. All right, I got most of those bad things out of the way, so let's talk about some of the things that I really loved. Alex and Kelly had one of the best wedding ceremonies I've ever seen on television. And Mila Jones, I think I'm pronouncing her name right, was absolutely adorable as Esme. I mean, it's too often we get like kids who are quote unquote, too saccharine, sugary cute for their own good. But I just loved her when she was on screen. And I thought she played, that actor, played that role incredibly well. And it was just fun. And, I thought that entire scene and anytime she was, on camera, I thought that was really cool. It was also nice to get a return of the OG Super Friends, even though I don't think that anyone ever referred to them as the Super Friends when they were together. But it was nice to get that moment with Jimmy Wynn and Cara together. And it's just funny thinking about how tight her circle used to be. And basically now they have this ginormous group of Super Friends. It's just sort of crazy to think about sometimes. Oh, and of course, the absolute other thing that I totally love was seeing Helen Slater again. Anytime she gets to be on an episode, it's a blessing. So I wish the show had done more with her. But I've had a crush on that woman ever since the Supergirl movie came out. And anytime she has a chance to be on screen, I think it's fantastic. And I sure wish that she would get some legacy love on the big screen, the way that Linda Carter did with Wonder Woman. I think obviously they got this Flash movie coming out and it's supposed to have Supergirl in it. It would be really, really nice and really cool if they somehow figured out a way to get Helen Slater in on that movie too. So DC, get on that. Man, and of course, no finale of Supergirl would have been complete without the return of Callista Flockhart as Cat Grant. If anyone was going to point Kara along the path of her true self, it had to be Cat. And it was a pretty damn good surprise too, in my opinion. And certainly, like a lot of finales, it left a lot of questions unanswered for the viewers. But I look at it this way. It was the end of a television show. It's not so much the end of those characters' lives. So they will go on and have fantastic adventures. We just won't get to continue to go along for the ride. And in the end, isn't that what you want as a viewer, to know that the characters you care about are going to be okay and will continue to carry on? And finally, if nothing else had happened in this 2-hour finale, it would have been worth it to me for the OG reunion, the wedding vows, the reception, Kara and Lena's heart-to-heart, and that big-ass smile on Kara's face at the end as she revealed herself to the world. Oh, man. It was just a great beginning to the true, authentic life that she's going to get to lead. And maybe I hate that we had to wait to the finale to get that, but I'm just glad that we did. In the grand scheme of things, that was always Kara Zor-El's journey. She had to find a purpose and a place on this planet, and being able to do that as an alien with no disguise, no more lies, no secrecy, none of those personal shackles she's had to wear the past 6 seasons. That is truly an epic ending of the show and an epic beginning for her. Man, I'm just so happy I got to go along in that journey, freaking warts and all. I don't know if I have a rating for the finale. Maybe other folks do. I just know that when the episode was over, I had a warm feeling in my heart. And if that's all I can take from a show, then that's always going to be enough for me. I look forward to hearing what everyone else has to say about the finale of Supergirl. I was glad that I was along for the ride, and I am incredibly fortunate for having been part of it.
Thank you, Carrie. I think he asks a great question. Is it not satisfying to know that these characters are left in a great place and they're going to continue to have adventures? They're going to continue their storylines moving forward. Isn't that ultimately what we wanted? And I would say to that, yes, absolutely. We didn't want this huge sacrifice of Supergirl or any of our team for that matter. And yeah, did they write it weird with Brainy and all that? Well, yeah, of course. But, did we want some ultimate, character death or something, to give it all that kind of gravitas and all that? No, we didn't. So aren't we okay that, our characters were left in a really good place and can continue on? And who knows, maybe someday we will see them in comics, or we are going to see Alex post, these 6 seasons. So, I mean, who knows what kind of glimpses we may get yet to see in the future. And I'm right there with him. Like, when these episodes were over, because I know Leslie was asking, how we would rate these up as compared with, Myriad and Better Angels. Well, of course, that ending to season 1 was absolutely a 10, but I can also leave these episodes with a big old smile on my face, knowing that things were wrapped up really well. Is it written well and concisely and wrapped up incredibly well? No. But can I walk away from it with a big old smile on my face too, just like he did? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's how I felt as well. I second that. And the other thing that I would say about the Brainy and Nia is, yes, when Brainy came back after that big setup about how it was imperative for him to merge with the big brain or his whole race was going to die, and they really built it up. As much as it didn't make sense for him to come back in that moment and say it's okay because the future is yet to be written, and that's not what he said before, I was still really happy that he did come back, because this is what we were invested in. That concept about him having to save his race and the big brain, like, they didn't spend enough time on that to make that a storyline that we were invested in. But Brainy and Nia, we were invested. So even though the plot didn't make sense from what they had set up before, I was super glad that we didn't go with a storyline that, yes, would have been consistent, but wouldn't have been one that had really been set up for us in a way where we could have become attached to it or formed an opinion on it. So I agree that it was real weird that it was all set up like, oh, this is so important, and then but it's okay because the future hasn't been written. That was weird, but I have to love it because the green butterfly loves love. And I agree, Carrie, just knowing, putting these people in positive places to end the series made me very happy.
Yep. And Carrie, thank you so much for everything that you've contributed to this community. Your presence in the live episode discussions has been really noticed and really welcomed, and I just have had a blast hanging out with you and all of our super friends as we've watched these episodes, especially this season together. All right, we're going to turn things over to Team Huntress, and I'm going to ask Ms. Tessmacher to bring out the volume upon volume upon volume that Team Huntress has to share.
Miss Tessmacher!
Miss Tessmacher!
Miss Tessmacher!
Miss Tessmacher!
All right, she starts out noting in reporter tones, since they love to throw the word reporter around so much this season. That's right, fans. I'm here at what's left of the final credits, and I can confirm, indeed, the hatchet job on this once good series is finished. It's being advised that fans never speak of this series again. This reporter does have word, though, that seasons 1 through 3 are still safe to view, but do so with caution, as it may lead to feelings of rage given what's happened here tonight. Wow.
Oh.
It's finally over. Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. Given my once love of this awesome series, you'd think I'd be more upset, but I can't say that I am. That the series is not the season I felt for, nor these characters I know, so yeah, I'm glad they've stopped, instead of continuing to destroy everything to the point I never want to watch any of this again. Here's my rankings for seasons now from best to worst. At best, Season 1, then Season 3, Season 2, Season 4, Season 5, and finally, Season 6. That's right. Even with the mind-numbing levels of boredom that was Season 5, you can look back and say it's just a season that got away from them because Leviathan didn't land like they expected, and they did have to focus on Crisis coming up, so they tried, but it just failed hard. With Season 6, I'm left feeling like this was an intentional hit job on the series that's vindictive, and I can't support it. No way these writers can look fans in the face and honestly say they tried to write a good season to the show, because nothing about this season works. If they can, they're amazing liars. Horrible Supergirl writers, but amazing liars. They said this was going to be an homage to the series, and the first season especially, but what it really was again, a homicide. Below is a list of why the finale didn't work for the series as a whole, and the few times during the massacre they slipped up and actually had an enjoyable moment. One note, Dish still has locked out the CW, so this report is coming post via watching it on my phone.
The slip-ups, aka positives of the episode. I start with the biggest shock of all. They had freaking Cat Grant on here, like an actual Callista Flockhart. That was a great surprise. That said, not even she could save the burning hot garbage pile of this event. The rest of these in no particular order. As a Fleetwood Mac fan, I did enjoy hearing Landslide at the end of the episode. That said, I'm not sure why it was the best song choice for what was happening. Yes, it's about to change, but it's not like we've never seen the payoff to change for the series. So I wish they'd use another song. Maybe just sent it off with a different slowed down version of the main theme. Then again, the volume was so low on the song in my watch that if this is how it was live, you can easily miss it if you weren't paying attention. So you could edit it that way in a sense. Eliza was fun to see, but just a shame it took a season to get her, and she's only in 2 minutes worth of scenes. We wasted so much time on CGI fights and some reporter dude's funeral that no fan cared about, but we couldn't have more time with the mom than we did? Boo! Even in the good, they found ways to stay consistently bad this season. Speaking of Eliza, while her line about being Kryptonian was a nice shout out, it also felt very too little too late for me. It's a good line, but it would have played much better, I feel, if not literally in the last episode of the series, as here it feels like fan service, but not necessarily well done fan service, if that makes sense.
It does, yes. Kyler's Mama Bear acting. I'm pretty sure this was just her drawing inspiration for how she'd really be ticked if someone kidnapped her kids for real. It was a well-done performance, but one of the many instances also where it felt like words said, but not really the emotional impact, because everything this season has just been so hollow in believability. It didn't feel grounded or earned by what's come before. Nixley and Nia, of course, continued their run as season standouts, and joining them in this particular episode was Lillian Luthor, who once again showed we never needed Lex to have a Luthor we could fight that was our own. Katie and Brenda in the death scene was well done acting, for sure, but again, a prime example of word vomit that had no emotional weight to it. Maybe if we'd seen more of Lillian over the season, it would have felt more impactful. But here again, it feels like wrapping up something that they left 2 seasons ago, and all I can think is that's the time we could have seen Eliza also, to have more than a minute of content. Kelly looked gorgeous in her wedding dress, and while I don't ship the pairing, I have to admit, on the whole, her wedding vows were good. Also looking good, Lena in that purple suit at the end. Katie's eyes just popped in that shots, and yeah, I think everyone can at least appreciate this one part of the final. They said they're bringing back the DEO, to which I say good, as it never should have left. Be cool if we saw more of it, to say an Alex spinoff, but you know they're going to be dumb and let Kyler walk off after the Flash event. Out of all the Flash forwards, I feel Nia opening the Dreamer Center was the most earned, so that was nice. Again, the DEO never should have left, so that coming back was a given. But does the new color scheme just equal peace to them? You can be suspect in handling and have a pastel color scheme. Ask Abstergo from the Assassin's Creed series. Sorry, don't know that.
If we're rating this as a season final, I actually think it's fitting of the garbage they gave us all year. But if we rate it as a series, as a season final, I think it's fitting of what they've given us all year. But as a series final, no thank you. To say the least, because this does not wrap up the series. This is a hodgepodge of cobbled together moments and stretched out scenes to fill time so that they could cash their checks. Very little about the season final said Supergirl to me, And then again, this hasn't been Supergirl since season 3, I would argue. The negative aspects of the episode for me, get comfortable, as this is a long list. Hey, do you remember when they made a big deal about Eve killing Jeremiah and how Alex finding out would mean her death? No? That's okay. The writers don't remember either, because that's a plot they've clearly got forgotten because they have to shove William into screen time somewhere, it seems. Lex totally could have popped off to Alex about how he killed Jeremiah, but nope, it's never mentioned again. We could have left him as a Casman agent out in the world for projects to come, but that would mean they wanted to continue the series beyond just Kara, and we know that's not true with how much they sabotage this series in this season alone.
Do you remember when they changed Danvers' sister history to bring Kenny and how he was Kara's date at the wedding at the end? No, that's right, because they didn't do that. Seriously, what was the point of bringing Kenny back if he wasn't going to get used again? You destroyed more good history of the series for whoever decides to watch this from start to end again. And for what? Because Crisis? Crisis was garbage. And it had no business affecting our final year because we never cared about it and it never affected us. So why do we get punished for it in the end? I'm telling you, this was an intentional bombing job, so fans will forget the hope. And yeah, I have no hope we'll see anyone continue on, maybe a guest spot in which probably more character history will be rewritten if we see anyone at all on other series. That perhaps one of the saddest things. They had such a talented cast for this series, and they're just going to let them walk instead of working them into other series or continuing via spin-off, which isn't about her cousin. Speaking of their yawn of steel, Lex, we fought Clark's bad guy in our final season in part Y. Did they forget the awesome roster of villains Kara herself has that could have been brought back instead? Again, you want a Luthor. Lillian is right here. We've never needed Lex. William's funeral scene. Why are we wasting time? I don't like him when he was first on the series, writers, so why am I going to care that you killed him off? You're a season too late if you want me to have any emotions about it, beyond wanting to fast forward to get something possibly interesting.
Speaking of bores, could John Jones been any more dull this season? What happened to this guy? Seriously. All he did this season was either repeat what someone else just said before his line, or was just fumbling around playing follow the leader. This man used to give speeches which pepped our team up and told harsh truths when characters needed it. But this guy, it's like David was contracted to be there. So that's why he showed up, not because Jean was actually needed. Shaking my head. Speaking of useless elements, hey, Mon. Thank you for at least not staying long. I almost want to put him in middle ground for that because, as you know, he could have been so much worse. He, Wynn, and James were clearly there as service for some fans, and I let Makad and Jeremy come back for at least OG Super Friends moment. It was nice and ideal. I admit, honestly, I didn't need it in actuality because it felt forced by that point. And it was stuffed with force aspects. The sisters fighting. Pass. I know they'll make up in the end, and have to admit their conflict was interesting had it not been the final episode. But given that, I can't even see them fighting, even if it's little or not. Even if it's something little or something I didn't care about for myself.
So how does this special place exist and the DEO not know about it? Seriously, this was Season 1 DEO who did sweeps. No way they didn't know about this bridge. And speaking of the bridge, everyone on it except Nixley and Lex, because he always finds a way, should have been dead. Maybe you should give a pass to Nia, who dream bubbles herself, but everyone else should have died. The blasts all around them with fire, and the concussion force places the drop to the bottom. The humans don't survive that. In regards to the fight at the bridge, Kara has super speed. She should not have to lose a race to the Allstone. And that was dumb, and clearly to draw out more time, because they really only had one episode worth of content to really do, so they crammed almost anything into places hoping to meet their required runtime. Seriously, they have turned Kara into such a joke, it's no wonder Melissa is ready to go. Given all the magic trash and nukes they've dumped into the sun over this season, I'm sure it'll recharge as fast as Energizer says their stuff will in the commercials. They make the stakes in this so high at every turn. It just becomes laughable, honestly, in the end to me. They also totally took 6 seconds to say stop, and thusly, Kara should have drained the sun, or whatever they were doing at that point. It didn't matter in the end, because Kara didn't want to be the bad guy. And so, yeah, moving on, the writers did too, because they had the attention of a toddler at this point, and again, we're just throwing things in place to make their runtime requirement.
The Hope Speech. Again, you can magic up all the help you want, but no way short of brainwashing does anyone agree. Again, it's laughable that society would just go along with her, given all they showed human beings like this year, given it meant to be based in our world. The first Hope Speech worked because it was sweet and hopeful, as the theme implied, and she's just appealing to the better angels and people. But this speech was essentially brainwashing, and why would fans of the actual Supergirl be excited by that? This was so hokey. It would be nice if everyone got along to pull this off without being forced. I could agree in the season, but even at the most civil, there's still disagreements. So yeah, I can't for 1 minute. I can't for the moment buy this worked like they showed. If they have Legion, why couldn't we have had a good member like Emra? I hate that they continue to misuse hashtag not all heroes wear capes. You can't say it if you're in cosplay. You know what's not a cape? A black polo that says DEO on it. You know what else? Just being a shrink, because mental health is important too. Also, Orlando in this episode giving an honest and earned from his Hope Speech. Eliza, Mitch, basically anyone except Lena, because she's Morgana now, so she doesn't count because she has powers too, who wasn't wearing a supersuit and not doing magic, was a hero without a cape. These main people totally misusing the slogan, and they need to stop. You want to taut the line again, writers? Take Alex in her tracksuit and bring back the polo, and maybe we can start saying it again.
I take it the wedding guest list was all Kelly's friends from before Alex, because no way Alex Danvers has that many friends. She was too work-obsessed to get out and make them. The wedding party should have been a lot smaller. Just saying. And as much as I love Overgirl as a challenge for Kara, you know who else can put her down on the ground? Rain. If we quarantine Helen Slater, we can quarantine Odette Annabelle to get her back up here. Heck, given it's Rain and not Sam, it could have been anyone in the suit or just show the image of her coming in to nod to season 3. So let me get this straight. Brainy says knowing too much on the future was bad, and telling could change it to the point where he had mental breakdowns about almost someone asking him a question. But Wynn can just drop nuggets like the fact that Jean and Magon have a kid? Clearly he's not as worried about changing it if that kid is never born now, because maybe the pressure of that knowledge actually causes them to never get together. And what does brain staying mean? Does this mean Neuronal is never born? Or was she always a product of Brainy and Nia because she stayed in the past? I disliked how there were some interesting setup for plots that will never come, such as what would a new season where everyone knows who Kara is look like? Will Alex be the new director of the new DEO? Or she can finally have a say she was actually the director for more than a hot second? What if they wrote actual conflict to pay off things and plots add weight to them instead of being word vomit time kills instead? So many questions we'll never get the answers to now.
I know some probably still find her cute, but I have to say I'm over Esme being baby cute. It was adorable the first time we met her, but now they're just doing it. Asking for hugs when it's your family. Just hug your mom and Aunt Cara. They used the cute card too many times, and by doing so, dulled its effect on me. The actor is good, but again, they killed her stuff by having one note at this point in places. Editor-in-Chief Cara Danvers? That's funny. This is hilarious, because why not at this point? But still, she can't edit her way out of a blurb, much less run a paper. I'm all for Cara working at Catco, but this is clearly Cat trying to keep track of her intellectual property on Supergirl locked down, because Cara is not an ace reporter. I still maintain she would have been better off as a promotional person for the paper, because she literally is that, but also giving her time away from the paper when need be. Maybe if they cared about Cara, instead of copying her cousin, we could have still been in character and been gotten more seasons of Supergirl instead of pushing the lead away.
Nixley, back in the Phantom Zone. Look, I know she tried to kill Cara and company a few times, but who hasn't? Her being banished back to the start when she was wrongly placed there in the first place did not sit well with me. She kept her part of the deal in regards to Esme, and in a way she fought Lex, and they should have just sent her back to the fifth dimension because she never had a bone with Earth to start with. And if they'd let her go, they could have saved themselves so much trouble. Why do they feel so protective of the fifth dimension anyway? Let her go wreak havoc on her father. Honestly, the bad guys of this year are the quote-unquote heroes, I feel. They brought all this on themselves. And finally, negative Nellie Cara. Again, I'm so glad we're done with this. Kara's been whining all season and complaining about how X gets in the way of Y. But girl, it's you who decided that. She could have just been Supergirl if she wanted. She tried it and she didn't like it. She could have just been Kara if she wanted, but she's got a passion to help. So yeah, the only choice is to learn to balance that, or you'll be acted like it's so hard, but it's really not. It was for drama, for the sake of stretching time, and it was so annoying to watch, in my opinion, and did not feel like Cara Danvers we saw early on. But again, as I've been saying, this hasn't been Cara Danvers in a while, tragically. Again, I can't understand why Melissa in part wants out. Sure, you can say because she wants to be with her kid too, and I'm sure that's some of it, but she's probably also tired of them writing Cara out of character, and she knows when she's enjoyed the series, and this is so not enjoyable, because this is not the Kara she herself fell in love with and admires. Also, Kara didn't hide because she couldn't face being Supergirl and Kara. She hid because Alex stressed her out, saying if people knew who she really was, they would dissect her and lock her away forever and target Eliza and Alex. And so, yeah, she scared her into hiding. Kara wanted to come out that moment, but Alex said no. And because she worships Alex, she went along with her. So this angst here and now over this concept is not earned. And seriously, does Kara think things are just going to be okay now? They know where you live, girl, and who your family is. Getting ready for more kidnappings of loved ones and for your apartment to be blown up at least twice a year? Most likely some lawsuits from the city. Clearly, she missed the fire that rained down on Oliver Queen when he came out as Arrow. Outing yourself isn't as fun as you think, Kara. Final comments. Rating. Hot, burning garbage.
If season 5 was ripping out the souls, then season 6 is the dismembering of the body to make sure nothing exists. It's like they want us to forget Supergirl ever happened. And while they themselves forgot that they wouldn't have their precious Superman. And really, do you know why he's the easiest to get out of the big three? Because he's been done a million times before. There's nothing really special to explain about him. Not like Supergirl. But no, they basically copy and pasted him into her post-season 1, and it killed the series. Season 6 was certainly no homage to season 1. Unlike they said, it had elements from season 1 in it, but a Cat Grant spot in an episode does not an homage make. Kara earned journey, certainly in career, doesn't feel earned. I'm pretty sure they've done more environmental damage than in all other seasons combined. I feel somewhere in the world, Maggie Sawyer is like, I told y'all, because she said Kara was a wrecking ball. Ha! John went from a solid advice source to a parrot. Alex, mainly Dill herself, overall did have some key changes, which did worsen her character likability. She never needed a suit to be special. Lena has lost all sense of who she was. Lover of the tech and one step away from being on the stand of Zatanna. Brainy was all over the place. And where once we had so many awesome sister moments, does anyone remember the last time we had a really good sister moment? It feels like forever. Nia was honestly the only series start point until the final credit moment. I'm not a fan of this season and as of the series final. It just makes me sad. While I wish we had more of this series, if they're going to write it like this, I'm glad they ended it now, because the trash and each other week is just destroyed by the characters as we went along.
I'll miss listening to Made of Steel podcast each week, because at least it made the week not as bad as the host talked about the episodes. I always appreciate how episodes were rated fairly, and if it sucked, it was okay to say that in your feedback, and if it was awesome, it was given praise where it had been earned. I'll miss the fandom, because some cool stuff came from it. Tragically, as much as I love this series originally, I can't say I'll miss the series as much as I once would have. I'll miss it more of the potential of what could have been, but thanks to DVDs, I can watch the 3 seasons of Supergirl that exist I don't know what seasons 4 through 6, especially 6, were, but it's not Cara Danvers' series, really. And I'll miss the actors because, again, they had such a killer cast lineup. And I'm ready for a break from this season and the bombing of history that has gone on with this series recently. You deserve better, Cara Danvers, and I'm sorry they couldn't see you beyond the lenses of your cousin. You were fresh and amazing, and the series had good emotional content for characters early on, and it could have taken on topics well if the season 1 writing team were around. I know the show says their theme was hope, but all I can see is the legacy is one of wasted potential. Thank you, Melissa, for trying, and I'm sorry you didn't get to play Cara Danvers as long as you should have. Thank you, Kyler, for giving us an overall kick-ass character, and Alex, still easily the best stunt work in the DC TV universe. Thank you, Season 1, for being on DVD so that we can enjoy you again and again. Thanks to the fans for the creative fan elements that were oftentimes better than what the professionals gave us. Thanks, Nia Nall, for being the constant cared good on the series from the moment you showed up. Without her in character things, it would have been so much harder to watch each week. You'll always be in my heart, Supergirl. Try as hard as they did, we fans won't let them take the real you from us. Hashtag stronger together. Okay, so I was debating the final with others, and I guess if you only ever saw the CW years, then maybe this final was okay. But knowing Season 1 and the foundation of the series and how good they could have been when they tried, it just didn't work, in my opinion. Okay. There we have it from Team Huntress, who has, I might add, contributed every single episode of Made of Steel that's ever been. So,
yes. Perfect record.
Yes. So you and her, I think, are the only two that can say that for sure. So that is amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So I've listened to them all. I haven't, and I've contributed a whole bunch, obviously, but I have not given feedback or been a voice, written or my own voice, every single episode of Made of Steel. So high honors to you, Team Huntress.
And she is one of the people that I've just felt so sad for all season, for her to be suffering when this is her favorite show. And I just want to say thank you for sticking with us. And I'm really, really sorry that you felt very let down by this season and this final.
There you go. All right. I had a quick moment from some of the deleted scenes or the extra scenes that didn't make it on the broadcast airing, including this very special moment for the new family and Lena.
So I have to say, this is the best wedding I've ever been to.
It kind of is, isn't it? It's because we have friends that love us, friends that are like family, which brings us to what we wanted to discuss with you.
Oh, I know. You want to adopt me, right?
Well, it's something like that, but in reverse. We would really love for you to be Esme's godmother.
I mean, I was just happy being the really cool aunt, but yes, of course.
We love you.
Oh, we love you.
You guys.
And to this, I would just echo such bad dancing. Oh, my eyes, my eyes.
It was so cute, though. I mean, come on.
Yes. So there was that element, and also James giving Esme a camera from his father. So I thought that were two really cool moments that I wish they would have worked into the original cut. But I'm glad that they are out there for everyone to take in. So, All right, let's turn things over to our buddy and pal, Mr. X-Force 11.
Well, hello, super fam. This is Jeff X-Force 11 flying in on the Wave Rider, and it wouldn't be right not to leave my thoughts directly after the episode ends. So, I want to say that I am happy for Kara, that she is truly being a hero out in the open and not trying to split her time. Because I think being open and honest are the best thing, especially for her. And I appreciated that they ended with her being true to herself. I loved a lot of moments about these two episodes. I really appreciated getting to see the family that we have built over the past few seasons. I didn't particularly like how they ended our villains, but truthfully, the villains of this season really haven't impressed me. And so getting rid of them is okay. I just didn't see the need to bring Lex in the first place, and the whole magical totems thing just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me at all. I am hopeful for the future, and this leaves open a lot of doors for our cast of characters, and it doesn't really close things off, and that's good. I think they did well the way they closed things off in the last hour. I'm going to miss a lot of aspects of this series, the characters especially the most, the writing not so much, the political agenda that they pushed during the seasons not so much, but the characters a whole lot. And yeah, truthfully, I'd like to see some of them again. And I appreciate all that has been done, everybody who has left feedback for Made of Steel through the years. I appreciate Karen and Emily. I appreciate John. I appreciate the fact that y'all brought in Justina from being a feedbacker to being a host and everything that she's added. And I appreciated the times that I got to fill in and host myself. I appreciate you all feedbackers as well. It wouldn't be the show Made of Steel without you all. And so I really appreciate all that you have done to make this our community, as crazy as the storylines were and as up and down as the writing was. But I really appreciate this super fam. And as somebody who podcasts, it's just great to see the amount of feedback and the joy and the energy that this community puts in. And I am really grateful to be a part of it. All right. Those are my thoughts. X-Force 11 is out. And if you want to hear more of me, come over to Tomorrow's Legends. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. We couldn't say it any better. It is really all about this community. It always has been. It's never been about Karen and Emily. It's never been about Justina and me, or anybody else who's been able to step in like Jeff, to sit in and make sure that this show happens. It's all about and for this community. So
Always and forever.
Always and forever. All right. We're going to turn things over to Leslie. She says, my feedback's long, but it does relate to 2 episodes. I've found the series finale to be lackluster and lame. Despite a few scenes scattered throughout these 2 episodes, I didn't like either. Episodethum. I don't know. But before I get into it, I did really appreciate a couple of things about the Kara episode in no particular order. Number 1, Supergirl / Kara's emotional music, harnessing anger, played during her Hope speech. Number 2, there was a Danvers Sisters couch scene. I thoroughly enjoyed that scene. Number 3, Alex and Kara hugging and saying to each other, I love you, as Elias saying to both, you're so beautiful, my girls. The Kara episode does get half a demerit for deleting this continued scene from the original broadcast episode. Why would anybody in their right mind delete this scene? For what? So that Wynn could destroy the space-time continuum by revealing the entire history of the 31st century in the 21st century. Number 4, Melissa Benoist and Jeremy Jordan treating us to a duet of We Belong. Number 5, Nixley harshly turning on Lex and protecting Esme. I loved every sharp-tongued word she directed at Lex. Number 6, Esme at the wedding, and any time she says, Aunt Carla. Number 7, the cast dancing to We Are Family. Sorry, Lizzie. Can't meet you there. Number 8, Cat Grant challenging Kara. Number 9, Kara becoming editor-in-chief of Catco. I wanted Kara to end up owning/running Catco, but in this position, I'll accept. Number 10, Melissa's acting in the emotional scene after talking to Kat at the wedding. Number 11, there was a game night at Kara's apartment, and she seemed pretty happy. Number 12, the series ending with a shot of a smiling Kara Danvers. Beautiful. Simply beautiful. Melissa looked as young as she was in the pilot 6 years ago. It was a great shot that I'll always fondly remember as the coda for this series. Her name should have been revealed as Kara Zor-El Danvers, not Kara Danvers. Kara should have been able, the one to say her name and then end with I am Supergirl, but no. Number 13, the music at the wedding was great with We Are Family by Sister Sledge, Let's Groove by Earth, Wind, and Fire, to which Melissa Benoist, Jeremy Jordan, and Kyler Lee looked like they were having tremendous fun dancing to, and Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. Williams' Going Home music, appropriately entitled Going Home by Mary Fall, was also quite good. I enjoyed these 13 little things. I've actually watched these scenes several times. I was quite happy with the ending shot of Kara, and I will forever remember that Kara's ending was left open-ended. But these 2 episodes were not representative in any way of the superhero TV series that I have come to love. As a final product, I thought these 2 episodes constituted a mishmash of cringy, inexplicable, contradictory, illogical scenes involving utter fails with characters acting out of character and character assassinations. In 3 words, a train wreck. I didn't like these 2 episodes, and I found that certain scenes were designed to make me irritated with the episode as a Supergirl fan for the last 6 years.
When I first heard that the last episode was entitled Kara, I was agitated that the Supergirl writers and showrunners would do something horrid to Kara. I was anxious about the episode. While they did do something horrid to Kara/Supergirl by weakening her beyond measure. At the end of the fight at the bridge, Supergirl ended up on the ground, and John had to help her. What am I watching? What did Cat Grant say? Stronger together. Oh, I don't know. #terrible girl. The last gauntlet, and Kara never succeeded in giving Kara/Supergirl a satisfying journey. I have no issue with her endpoint. I'm just disappointed in all the Kara angsting and ineffectiveness as a superhero along the way in season 6.
After Kat's first call, Kara was once again that season 2 stuck Kara. She was also the season 3 Kara, who didn't know whether she was Kara Danvers or Supergirl. Kara struggled with this issue when Rain put her into a coma from which Supergirl couldn't awake until she figured out that she was Kara Danvers. Season 3 did this Kara bifurcation better and in a more compelling and organic way. Then the coup de grace was Supergirl revealing and destroying the through line of the series of why her secret identity was essential, and upended and eviscerated the premise of the 100th episode, that if Kara revealed her identity, everyone she loved would be killed. Not for nothing, these are legitimate reasons for certain government agents to be secret, for instance. Other than revealing her ID to Andrea, so Andrea would get off Kara's back, and revealing her ID to Ms. Grant, so Kara would want to take Kat's editor-in-chief job, I could care less about Kara revealing her secret identity to anyone. Revealing her secret identity wasn't a critical issue in my estimation for Kara's character development. Was revealing her secret identity to the entire world and universe the best these writers could come up with for a story for Kara to reveal herself, not as Kara Zor-El, but Kara Danvers? Not everyone will try to control Supergirl by kidnapping or hurting Esme, Alex, Kelly, etc.
I did not think either of these episodes were well written, and we find out why, as I discuss later. I felt the finale was lackluster, and the writers saw fit to thoroughly weaken Supergirl to the point where Alex came up behind Supergirl and grabbed the totem, as you pointed out, John, in a very Maeve-esque way. I was not in any way impressed that Supergirl defeated Overgirl. Supergirl overthrew Overgirl into a building, and then she disappeared. That fight was not equivalent to Season 1's fight with Indigo and Non. By the way, Alex seemed to be listening to Supergirl explain how Supergirl could get Esme back, even though the writers should have never had the child kidnapped in the first place. For shame, Kyler's acting like a distraught mom was phenomenal. Supergirl should have been the one to rescue Esme. With Esme mimicking Supergirl's powers, there would have been two Kryptonians fighting Nixley and Lex. Did this idea never occur to the Supergirl writers?
Excellent. At first, it seemed as if Kara had been able to convince Alex to let Supergirl try to get Esme back. But for some inexplicable reasons, the writer felt the need to again slap Danvers Sisters fans in the face with yet another fight between them. The Danvers Sisters became the show's heart in Season 1, which relationship the writers and showrunners have gaslighted us into believing Season 6 would pay homage. But instead, Alex and Kara spent virtually no time together like they used to in prior seasons. And when they do come together, they're fighting because of Alex's attitude. Plus, Alex destroys Supergirl's agency by coming up behind her and taking the totem. Supergirl let Alex get away with taking the Destiny totem. Just awful. Right before Alex said the unimaginable, I thought, don't you say it, Alex, don't you go there. And she went there. Alex harshly declared to the downtrodden and recently never successful Supergirl, I'll never forgive you, Kara. Way to pile on, Alex. Apparently, it was all about Alex and her feelings, and the rest of the world be damned, so long as she got Esme back. Precisely what kind of world would you and Esme be living in, Alex, with Lex and Nixley prancing around lording over everything? Alex had the unmitigated gall to look of disappointment on her face when she expected Supergirl to show up on the bridge. A person, even a superhero, can only take so much, Alex.
Jumping up ahead a bit here. Kara called Alex ruthless and drunk at the game night. Wow. Yeah. First, Alex was drunk in front of Esme. Second, Kara called Alex out for being drunk in front of Esme. Really? Ew, come on. I'm sick of watching drinking on screen. In my opinion, it's not cool, especially when Mom Alex is drunk in front of her child. In this scene, if this scene was just adults enjoying adult beverages, then why have Kara call Alex out? It wasn't funny. It was in poor taste. I worry too that if Alex were to get her own CW TV show, you know the writers, for the sake of fake, boring melodrama, would be tempted to break up Alex and Kelly and cause Alex to lose Esme because of Alex's drinking problem. Back to Esme's kidnapping. Alex had no idea whether Lex could be true to his word, irrespective of wearing a truth speaker. Lex may have been telling the truth at the moment when he was wearing the truth seeker, but then could have easily changed his mind later. When was exactly what occurred? Kelly, the sometimes therapist, knows that because narcissists and sociopaths don't believe they do anything wrong, they can pass lie detector tests.
Alex was willing to trust Lex, steal all the totems, and demoralize Supergirl. But Eliza tells Alex and Kara that she has made mistakes as a mom. Eliza then says, which was one of the funniest lines in the 2 episodes, funny, peculiar, not funny, haha, that Alex, who's been a mom for a hot 10 minutes, if that, has already parented with more wisdom than she ever had. Eliza, you're joking, right? Oh, that wasn't a joke? Let's examine Alex's wisdom in parenting. Alex refused to listen to her alien sister's advice about what it was like to grow up as an alien on Earth. Alex went to a party and left William in charge of Esme. Neither Kelly nor Alex give William any weapons or information to use if he were to be in trouble. Esme was kidnapped on both moms' watch, but Alex has had more wisdom than Eliza ever had? Yeah. Why have Eliza make such an unnecessary remark? And if that stupid remark had been eliminated, then the episode editor would have had more time for the Danvers sisters to talk at the wedding and for Kara and Esme to say goodbye to Alex before she left to go on her honeymoon. Why have Eliza come out of nowhere with a shotgun to shoot owls and make a meta statement that if it's as if she were a Kryptonian in another life, and Alex says only in the movies? What was that? Is that another unfunny attempt at being funny? Supergirl was so weakened. I was excited for a second that I would get a supercharged Supergirl like a Red Lantern Supergirl to make up for how weak she's been portrayed in most of the recent Season 6 episodes. But no. I couldn't believe that the writers gave all these negatives as to why Supergirl couldn't get supercharged. And then army tanks mysteriously showed up in National City, but were missing in action when the entire city was fighting? Come on, will you show? Supergirl could have been gotten supercharged by flying into space near the sun and not use the satellite.
The last gauntlet went to one of the best series finale locations ever, where Supergirl lifted Fort Ross, but the episode did nothing spectacular with that famous locale. The Omegahedron never exploded. In Better Angels, we see General Lane and Maxwell Lord with it. Nor was there a Fort Ross bridge in Better Angels. Moreover, the writers couldn't even carry continuity within one episode. Brainy said the bridge was a dead zone. No superpowers were supposed to work in that location, but superpowers did work in that area nonetheless. Supergirl and her friends fight from the bridge, where she ended up being on the ground, from which John helped her up. Was this scenario the best story the writers and showrunners could come up with for the series finale? Where was the incredible superhero who lifted Fort Ross like a submarine over her head, stopped the spaceship from jumping to light speed, battled an evil Queen Rhea, and then went back in time so that she could figure out a way back to defeat Rain?
But there was a better way to rescue Esme without a Danvers sister fight and all the National City getting mad at Supergirl, including Al from Al's bar out in the street, complaining about her getting supercharged. I cannot believe that the show's writers would have the public get mad at Supergirl in the penultimate episode of her own show. This episode needed to be rewritten, with Alex and Kara agreeing that Alex and Kelly could have gotten the totems if Kara's supercharge plan didn't work. The show of old would have clearly done this, but now the writers seem to enjoy destroying the bond between the sisters. Why else would they cut a critical scene from the broadcast original episode of Alex and Kara hugging and saying, "I love you," when Alex shows off her wedding attire? Why? Why? One good Danvers sister moment or family scene could have changed my whole opinion of an episode. But no. Perhaps Kara felt deflated and a weakling because she, as the strongest being on Earth, did not vanquish her nemeses, Lex and Nyxly. How lame and anticlimactic for Lex to call on the Phantoms who fly over the heroes' heads and then turn around and take Nyxly and Lex back to the Phantom Zone. Shouldn't Supergirl have defeated the Phantoms to recover from the trauma of being trapped in the Phantom Zone again? Lex being taken to the Phantom Zone was poetic justice given what he had done to Supergirl. Nyxly was fantastic with Esme and saved the child from Lex. For that, Nyxly merited something less than a return to the Phantom Zone. Where's the Supergirl/Kara who was willing to die to save the Earth by lifting Fort Ross, a 100-million-ton spacecraft, and tossing it into space, and thereby save everyone's head from exploding? The Last Gauntlet is the best story Rover and Queller could think of for Kara's endpoint with yet another hope speech? The second year in a row? Really? The Better Angels hope speech was novel, and the cringiest speech was Orlando giving the people a hope speech which also inspired Supergirl, the paragon of hope. Now, if a scene needed to be cut, Orlando's speech should have been landing on the cutting room floor.
I like the idea that Kara remained on Earth and continued to be Earth's superhero. I just wanted a payoff for Welcome Back Kara, where she and Alex promised to work through the trauma of Kara being trapped in the Phantom Zone. I wanted Kara to go spend some time with her parents, Allura and Zor-El, on Argo, now that she empowered everyone and empowered herself out of the superhero job. It's not as flawed premise that Supergirl was supposed to save people. Just because Supergirl saves people doesn't mean they aren't empowered. They just need her help in any particular situation. But the annoying watchword of this episode was empowered. If I hear that word again, it would be too soon. The word empowered translates into a depowered and demoralized Supergirl. Alex going on her honeymoon and Kara visiting Argo would have been a fitting conclusion in an episode called Kara. Instead of wasting time with Wynn telling secrets from the future, or Kara having an emotional breakdown at the wedding, the feeling bifurcated with Cat Grant, Kara could have spent some quality time with her parents in Argo. Kara could address her initial bias of her trauma being sent away by her parents from Krypton.
Next, I was annoyed that Kara and Alex didn't have a heartfelt conversation at the wedding. Melissa did a great job and showed tremendous emotion regarding her feelings that she was weak, but I was so annoyed that she wasn't talking to Alex. These final episodes have gone to great lengths to separate the sisters, the heart of the show. Why didn't Kara kiss Alex goodbye before she left on her honeymoon? It was ridiculous. Other nitpicks. Mon-El showed up for a couple of scenes. Why was he even in the finale if he's said he's never coming back to this time? Stupid dialogue. The finale had the nerve to give Jean a personal life and another child. Brainy and Nia are getting married? And nothing for Kara? Terrible. Supergirl gets to defeat Overgirl somehow and in a manner that didn't make any sense. But since we don't see Overgirl's face, her reappearance doesn't resonate as Overgirl. How does Lex summon Overgirl, Red Tornado, and Metallo anyway? Lex shouldn't even know anything about Overgirl. Also, why ruin Midvale 1 and the Danvers sister backstory with prom night and prom again if Kenny Lee wasn't going to make a reappearance as an adult in the remainder of Season 6? One last major point. I cannot believe Season 5 and Season 6 writer Jay Fairber gave a video interview available on YouTube in which he said Supergirl started out doing outlines, but he didn't join until Season 5 and Season 6. Quote, by that point, the studio, the network, and everybody trusted that everybody knew what they were doing. Really? And so they didn't need to see an outline at that stage. If this what truly was going on in the Supergirl's writer room, it's pathetic and appalling.
Why would a professional writer admit that his approach to writing for Supergirl was done in an incompetent way? Is Farber bragging about his incompetency? Does he think he's being funny and clever? There's no outline readily apparent in Season 5 and 6, the lowest rated seasons ever, where the writing has been logically challenged. There are wild inconsistencies, episode to episode and scene to scene in Season 6, massive continuity errors, and retcons. Greg Berlanti should be upset that one of his show writers admitted that they didn't even have a plan for 2 seasons of the Supergirl series. Right now, I am disappointed, frustrated, and angry about a mismatch of a train wreck that this season 1 was. I can't even think of one episode this season I liked other than Kara, except being entitled Alex Gets Married, and oh yeah, the last 10 minutes was about Kara, which storyline was done better and more organically in Season 3. It's a long title, but it would get the point across.
The Season 6 finale was the weakest yet, and these 2 final episodes on this 6th season are not representative in the least of the show that I have come to love. The essence of greatness of this show is represented by Season 1 generally, Season 1 episodes in particular. Right, K-Box?
She's very excited about season. She wants to do a Season 1 rewatch, I think.
The pilot, Red-Faced, For the Girl Who Has Everything, Solitude, Falling, Better Angels, Season 2, Changing, Exodus, Alex, Resist, Nevertheless She Persisted, Season 3, Girl of Steel, Triggers, Midvale, Legion of Superheroes, Crisis on Earth X, and Not Kansas, Non-Gun Control Scenes. Season 4, Suspicious Minds, The House of L, and Red Dawn. Season 5, Back from the Future, Parts 1 and 2, and the 100th episode. It's a super life. One final thought. Thank you, Melissa Benoist, for your outstanding portrayal of Supergirl. You will always be my Supergirl. Have a fantastic podcast and a happy Thanksgiving. All my best. Leslie. All right, Leslie, some fantastic points in here. I can never argue with your logic, nor would I want to. I totally agree.
This is all valid stuff.
Absolutely. And I've not heard of this Jay Fairbear interview. I will go back and take a look at that. That is somewhat shocking that they would put that out there for the world to see. And if that really was their approach, it certainly feels like it. But wow, that is sad to see. I also agree with you that Kara visiting Argo, spending time with Zor-El and Alora, getting closure on bringing her family back together and the initial trauma of being in the Phantom Zone the first time and 12 years later ending up on Earth. That would have been really powerful to see. There are such a number of different ways that we were hoping things would look. We can go back and listen to our Season 6 hope list. And, frankly, very little of it was on there. But we got what we got. And again, we hope with time that we can come back and really analyze not just the season, but really analyze the show itself, just like you ended with here, some of these highest moments and kind of what they have brought to you and me and so many others.
This really made me think, Leslie, that, maybe this could have even, they did extend it a little bit there on the CWF. It seems like it could have benefited even more from a little bit more of like a Lord of the Rings type ending where they do show different characters doing different things, which they did in the middle, showing, Andrea and Dreamer, but having the end be just Supergirl things. So yeah. Supergirl visiting Argo, Supergirl being editor-in-chief, yep. Supergirl being Supergirl being Kara, but just spending a good amount of time with these like cut scenes, going through her life in these ways that we didn't have time to deal with because we were out of episodes and out of time. But we could have seen a flash of Argo, a flash of Kenny, it could have been done that way.
Absolutely. All right. We've got more to come, but right now let's get over to Cougar's Comic Corner. All right. We've got Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, the current running series of Supergirl comics. This issue number 5, written by Tom King and released as we record just 2 days ago, November 16, 2021. Supergirl steps into an ancient trap, stranding her and Ruthie on a planet of nearly perpetual night. Now, the Woman of Steel must call on every remaining ounce of strength to combat the monsters left on this world, to kill any super unlucky enough to end up on its surface. This is $4.99 on Comixology, and the series is dated 2021 to 2022, so we know that there will be issues that are yet to come.
Yeah, it's supposed to be an 8-issue run, and they've been going about one per month. This issue was delayed, just a little bit off schedule, but they've been roughly about one per month, so we will be going into 2022 with this one.
Excellent. Can't thank you enough, Green Butterfly, for all of your extensive research in bringing us these comic titles week after week after week. So it is not easy, I know, as I've tried to do it over time, and you have taken it on with such grace and stride, and I really appreciate it, and I know our listeners do as well.
And I always want to honor our cougar.
Absolutely, because it is Cougar's Comic Corner. All right, let's hear from Phoenix. Aloha.
Aloha all, Phoenix here with a finale review of Kara. I'll save you all the drama of a full review of the penultimate episode, The Gauntlet, and give you a flash-style rundown. Lex offered to trade kidnapped Esme for the Super Friend stones, and Alex accepts. Kara says, no, bad idea. Alex says, tough, and steals the stones from her sis. Kara has heart and says, can you 100% say Lex will give you your daughter? Well, can you, Kara, say 100% you can save her? Sis, burn. Alex wins. Nixley makes the mistake of talking to Lex's mom, who of course convinces her he's evil, which he was, and will betray her probably, whatever, enough to lead her not to trust Lex anymore. Brainy and John have a bad idea, which of course Kara says, let's do it. No one stops her from being a sun eater herself. Then she hears everyone screaming, Supergirl, you suck. Then she stops. Duh. Okay, big fight. It's clobbering time. Everyone, big bang, pow, whap, fap, whoa, whoa, the all sort of merges. Oh, wow. Nixley grabs it. Whoa, it goes all over. Whoa, to a 4-year-old hissy fit breaks it. Oh, busted. 3 pieces. One for each of the endangered almost lovers who black and white the earth, and one for clueless Kara to mope about, oh no, what to do, oh. Overall, this episode is 8.5 fallen rose petals.
That is a great recap, Phoenix. I love it.
Fantastic. All right, but wait, there's more.
Okay, cue the last episode, Kara. Overall, I give it 9.0 timely guest spots. Could it have been better? Yeah. Could have been much worse? Of course. This is Supergirl we're talking about here. So let's bring on Kara, because it's all-stone fight time. People are evidently completely vanishing from a lack of the totem elements, so the Super Friends need a solution, and fast. Lena's mom on her deathbed, Lillian Lena's mom, admits that she suppressed her powers while she was growing up. Big surprise. And now she wants Lena to use these powers to save Lex. Like Lena's going to do that anymore. She's past that. Supergirl, on her little flight around the city, figures out that if she uses her piece of the Allstone to empower the world, then that could keep them from disappearing. It seems to me that this whole Kara talking the whole world thing is something that we've seen in at least one other finale. Didn't she do that with the Leviathan, with the whole super app thing? Whatever. Creativity with the writers, a hand wishy-washy. I'll let Manifesco go on about that. Anyways, her speech, sure. Together we will defeat the powers of darkness, all of humanity, and all together we will be in Technicolor. Yay! Evidently, Manel thinks it's a very moving speech that everybody in all of posterity will remember. But hey, this is nothing, Supergirl. Watch with a snap of Nixley's and Lex's fingers as they resurrect every 3D special effect rendering in the series that you can face. Cheap and impressive to have nothing on our finale budget. Yes. The good guys side, hey, we've got special guest spots galore. Anybody and everybody you can think of that we could get to actually decide they want to come back. Yes, that fight escalated quickly, especially once we decided we wanted to clean that up really fast and just have Lex and Nixley get sucked off to the Phantom Zone. Was anybody else really surprised at how fast that just kind of resolved itself? Okay. Yeah. I guess we needed a lot of time for the rest of the episode to have drama. Drama such as a funeral for William in the middle of a finale. Everybody dressed in black. How upbeat. Some supposedly teary goodbyes, and then everybody from the future flying off going, yeah, I got something to do. And then we have Kira. Yes, my favorite guest spot ever, back. And she gets an offer as a new editor-chief of Catco. This is awesome. This is exciting. I don't disagree, though, with Kara's explanation to Alex as why she wants to decline the job. It's almost like she has this need to run off and do Supergirl-y stuff, which is going to get in the way of being an editor-in-chief. So it's logical. But wait, Brady coming back after he had his teary goodbye. This I don't understand, because I thought the whole reason why he had to leave Dreamer and go to the future was because the whole Kalulan race was going to die if he didn't bond with the collective. And now all of a sudden it's okay if he just breaks with this destiny and comes back to Earth to be with Dreamer. Whatever. We'll just hand wavy, let them have their happy ending, whatever. Kara can just go up on the stage at the wedding and sing their plot holes away. Speaking of singing, when she first started singing, I thought Grant Gustin was in the duet at first, but then I remembered that they got uninvited from the wedding in an attempt to stave off all potential crises, which evidently worked because there was nary a bad guy in the rest of the show. So that's what you get when you don't invite the Flash, I guess. I am happy that Alex got her big wedding, but I feel in contrast to the funeral, which was so quick and forgettable, as to ask, why did they even do the funeral scene? Did the writers feel obligated or something? I can't even remember if somebody gave a eulogy, and I'm writing this 20 minutes later. Cat Grant, giving air quotes. I love it, and I love her message. As a matter of fact, it could be the only real shining light of this episode. Aside, of course, from seeing Mon-El and win again. That was cool. I like that. Okay, wait. Here's another great scene. I did enjoy the Lena conversation, too. Saying that she was like the conflicted best friend of basically the whole series. This was touching. Not green butterfly weeping in my pillow touching, but touching. So overall for the episode, well, Guitar Cat over here, her 2 cents is, as expected, much heavy cheese factor. As for Phoenix, what do I think could have made it better? First of all, a denouement featuring the shared fate of Lex and Nixley in the Phantom Zone. I think that the 2 characters at least deserve that. If anything, just to see them fighting, or if they're getting along, or, are they sitting there and weeping and shuddering in fear of the phantoms? What's going on? That would have been nice. A Vector Towards Allegiance spinoff, please, TV show. I mean, I know we've been asking for this for 3 years, but come on. I mean, we've got to have something in the Berlantiverse to look forward to, and I've been wanting a real Legion show. I mean, how hard is it to do? I mean, we've got Stargirl, we've got all these other shows. We can't have Legion as superheroes. There's so much potential there. Come on. Berlanti, come on, wake up. We want Legion, not with the people that were around. We know that, like, the Saturn Girl and stuff and didn't work out, but let's figure out what we need to do to reboot the Legion of Superheroes and make it happen. Finally, something more clear about this, possibly a new DEO. Now, maybe this is the spin-off part that they were trying to kind of soft boot, and maybe that's why we didn't get a lot of details, because they didn't want to give details and then ruin whatever they were planning of a spin-off. But that would have been nice too, because there was a bunch of really weird stuff like ribbon cuttings and this and that, and then they made it sound like it was just like a day or 2 or 3 later. I don't know. That was weird too. Dreamers Foundation and stuff. Yay, great. But that was weird. All right. Other than that, I would say B+ ending to an otherwise inconsistent 6 seasons. We've had highs and lows. Friends come, enemies go. Networks and podcasters start, and others, even fans, step up to answer that call. I will miss the show, but I think I will miss our team of podcasters and contributors here at Made of Steel even more. Thank you, John and Justina, for all your hard work every single week. Your dedication and positivity have helped make this show at least a little bit more entertaining, even when Supergirl itself may have been facing a leviathan of problems on screen. While there may have been other shows, there will never be the same energy and positivity that this podcast has always brought from day one with Scarlet Cougar and Miss Ice. Aloha and mahalo to you all. Phoenix, out.
Well, aloha and mahalo to you, our friend. And, man, you gonna make me cry. That ain't fair.
Fantastic. I love that so much.
Yeah, it's been our honor, and Phoenix, you have been an amazing contributor to this, and like I said at the beginning, let's not stop. We've still got more on the horizon. So yeah, keep it coming, and thank you so much for your kind words. Thank you for the amazing recap. Yeah, I totally agree with you.